Welcome back to the GSL Code A, the final season of Wings to Liberty. We have given 2 of 4 Code S spots, and Lucira was able to barrel out a win against Sue there in the final game. He will stay in Code S.
Yeah, that was close. That was a really exciting series. Him down 1 game and then coming back with a 2-1. That was quite impressive, especially the 3rd game. Very close. I just had one of those moments. Do you know that moment when you have a coffee or a cup of tea, doesn't really matter, and everything is fine, and then suddenly oh, look at that, my coffee is still there, and you just drink this like huge sip, and you realize it's cold and it's completely disgusting.
I thought you were either going to say that or all the grounds are at the bottom, and you got one of those where it was oh, too sugary or something like that.
Yeah, I got one of those cold coffee sips just now, and I'm like, ugh.
That's awful, man. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
Well, it's time for Squirtle, the new LGIM Protoss, one of many Protosses doing well in that lineup. Against Shine, Shine has a tough task against him. Squirtle is a finalist, one of the best Protosses in the world.
Yeah, he's such a boss. And for me, Squirtle was always, well, you know, if Keen is the commander, Squirtle is kind of the lieutenant or the colonel.
Yeah. Squirtle is going into this ranked 7th in GSL with all of his points.
We talked about this like ages ago, already a year ago, I feel. I still cannot put my finger on it who Squirtle looks like. He looks like one of those military guys that you have in a few of the movies. And I feel like he reminds me a little bit of one of the famous actors. But I can never really put my finger on it. And it is crazy. It bugs me for nearly a year now. But he is such a strong player and completely under his potential these days. I feel that we will see him go to Code S. I personally would be surprised to see Shine pull through here. Shine was able though to win against Huck with a 2-0, took out Fantasy with a 2-1. It's not like he's a bad player or anything, but I am a believer in Squirtle's abilities to take not only this game, but to do well in the next season too.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a new start for Squirtle on his new team. See if Shine can ruin his beginning, force him to go into the up and down, something he does not want to do. First map is Akalon Flats, and this is going to be a tense match for Shine. He has to have prepared well. We'll see what he's got. He's going to show his stuff. Going into game number 1 here at the GSL Code A, round number 3 with Caldo and Wolf.
To the top left of the map, we have our Caspar Zerg player. Starting for Samsung Khan is
Samsung Khan Shine.
Don't confuse him with a former TSL Zerg player who now plays for Team MVP. That's not him. That's a different Shine.
One of many.
Yeah, one of many Shines. And to the bottom right, we have Colonel, Commander, whatever you want to call him.
LGIM Squatter.
The water Pokemon.
He's been around for so long.
He got LASIK surgery. This is why he doesn't have his glasses anymore.
Yeah. And he got a new hair color as well. It looks good on him. I really like it. But he's just going into this matchup, he's the more experienced player.
Yeah, he definitely is. And you know, this is the first time he has to play in this Code A season. He comes from Code S, and of course he was one of those players who has only to play one single match, and if he is able to win it, then he is back in Code S. In his Code S season, in the last Code S season, the first round went really well. He took down Yoda, then lost to Boong Boong, but was finally able to defeat Hyun and move on to the second group stage. And in the second group stage, his nemesis once again was a Symbol. First of all, Squirtle with a 2-0 victory against Symbol, but then in the deciding game in the consolation match, Symbol takes it with a 2-0 and yeah, puts Squirtle into this weird position where he's now in third round of Code A. So if you look at his statistics, Squirtle statistics that is against Zerg, in the last few weeks, it's so-so, like 50%, maybe a little bit more.
But he's playing against the best players in the world.
Exactly, the opponents were really strong.
And Shine is just not quite on their level yet. He's trying to be, and that's why he's here in Code A trying to advance into Code S, but you're so right. He's playing against the best Zerg that exist on the planet, and so if he loses against them, finds himself in the third round, it's like, well, of course he's probably still going to get through.
Against Shine, if I look at his statistics, yes, he won against Huck with a 2-0 in the first round of Code A, but just his statistics against Protoss are not all that impressive. We don't see this many games of him. He lost to Terminator just recently in Pro League, and I feel that his most impressive win was the one against Fantasy that we had in the second round. that really impressed me personally. In the preliminaries, he also took out MMA with a 2-0. That's something that I want to point out again. So strong opponents that he had to face against Protoss, roughly 50-50 and definitely not meeting players that are this strong.
Yeah.
So I would give the edge to Squirtle for sure, but we've seen bigger upsets, so let's see what Shine can do here.
Shine goes for a very fast third hatch. Not as fast as you could go for, but on this map, this is quite early.
This is a daybreak time.
Yeah, exactly. Daybreak. Maybe Cloud Kingdom, but not even usually. But on this map, this is a bit weird because the hatchery is so exposed. You could find yourself losing out to Phoenix Pressure or maybe even a fast attack off of 4 gateways.
We have now the cybernetics core started, of course, at the normal timing here for Squirtle, and this means as soon as the building is done, we will know what exactly Squirtle's idea is for this map. Phoenix openings have been very common in Zerg versus Protoss, and this is definitely something that Squirtle could pull off here. I could definitely see him go into Phoenixes.
That probe was not going anywhere, though. Yeah. 1 hit point left. And Phoenixes are the most common build on this map. Immortal pushes, I feel, would be good, but nobody's really trying them. Thing is, if you go for an Immortal push, it's going to easily be spotted, and there's so many different places where the lanes can try to slow you down on your way over.
Here comes the +1 attack upgrade before we head into the robotics. Don't see a Stargate just yet either. Third base is something that you can quite easily get, so as a Protoss, going to a third here is definitely a good choice.
Yeah.
One of the better maps to get.
Exactly. And as long as he does not work on the rocks as he's doing now, he's just kind of leaving them there. These links are definitely dead. If he doesn't touch those rocks, though, it's just like more and more like he wants to do something on 2 base first. Now he moves over with the probe. We saw in GSTL, Zerg player or Protoss player in this matchup take a third base just like this on the beta. Oh no, that was actually just yesterday.
Yeah, that was
actually
Lure against
DRT. Yeah, I knew we saw this somewhere recently. Yeah, that was it. We've cast so many games on so many different expansions recently, but yeah, that was it.
Yeah, with all the double days that we had in the recent past, games blur a little bit together.
Yeah, I feel like a goldfish sometimes, but I'm like, wait a minute, I swear I saw this.
The game that Wolf was just referring to was Lure against Donglagu, which we saw yesterday, and Lure did a very similar strategy. He went into the third base, but he built the wall a little bit different. The wall that we see on Squirtle is basically asking to be busted.
Yes.
This is one of those builds where we see a bit of a Zerg engagement going on. When you watch the wall as a Zerg player, it itches in your fingers to build that baning nest.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, these Stalkers will get away because speed is not quite done. Yeah. This is excellent pressure play by Squirtle to keep the attention off the third, but I'm pretty sure the Overlord has already seen it, and he has.
You know what the problem is with the wall that you see in the Zerg player? Your hands immediately start to go to the baling nest. You think you can bust through, but then you arrive there with all your bailings, and suddenly all those force fields just ruin your plan, and you're just sitting in front of a computer and you're like, ah, I hate these things.
Yes. Most Zerg players are not happy about force fields. But yeah, he makes the wall with his pylons as part of it, which, I mean, banelings aside, roaches are also going to have an easier time with just targeting down one of the pylons and then getting the links inside. It's just, there's less hit points in the pylon than a gateway. It's simple math.
Yeah, also what we now have is, of course, the attack for Squirtle, but he decides to just take his third so early in this game. And the response of DRG was to go into a Hydralisk den and put a lot of aggression on Lure. That was yesterday. And Lure had no chance, he just crumbled there. But from Shine, we see a very, very different response.
Yeah. And Lure also had Stargate play coming out.
Yeah. So we had a little bit of a different opening there. So it was a different way that they went into this build. But right now what we see is the tag for Squirtle. And Squirtle is in a much better position since we now have the Roach Burn instead of a Hydralisk Den for Shine, who of course doesn't even have a lair tech, so he can't even go into a Hydra Den.
Yeah. His lair tech just finishing up. I think we're going to see Roach speed start soon. No, he goes Infestation Pit first.
He wants to go into a 4th base here, so he doesn't plan to go into such a huge amount of aggression, but he wants to hit a timing. Because now we have not only +1/+1 on the production tab, but he goes into a drop.
5 gates coming out for Squirtle. He wants to hit that pre-Broodlord timing, and he wants to hit it hard. We've seen players hit this in the past without Colossi, with just Blink Stalkers with the fast third base on usually in Tomb Valley, which this map is really similar to as far as the third base goes for the Protoss. Then he's going to have +2. He's now getting the robotics for observers out. This has been seen, though, by Shine. How will he respond? He needs to get those infestors out. If he can get a few good fungals off, he will be able to hold this. He starts Roaches first. He wants to wait for that Pathogen Gland upgrade. He hasn't killed the rocks yet.
Yeah, the rocks aren't gone yet. What we have is, of course, now the Blink upgrade, and this is going to be really important. Also, +2 is just now finishing. All these upgrades, as you just said, they are lining up very, very well for Lucira here. And let's see how Shine deals with this. The economy just in general for Squirtle is so good. On 3 bases with 70 drones, probes already. This is looking pretty good for him. I like this
and
position
he has,
a lot.
with all these gateways, an insane amount of production. As soon as his pounds finish here and his warp gates are ready, he can warp in oodles of stalkers. He goes into Robotic Support Bay, which means that he's likely not going to try to end the game here. He even adds a second Robo. So from here, he's going to just go into double Colossus production. But he can still put a lot of pressure on with his Stalker army. He's always going to keep Shine a little bit nervous, a little bit guessing.
+3 attack now been started. We have a bit of a supply block here for Shine, but Shine is the one who I feel has to try to hit a bit of a timing here. He goes into Hive Tech after all, but now he has also been spotted with this Observer who knows exactly what's going on, sees all those infestors here at the back, sees the move out as well. It's just not going to be easy to get up this ramp or get into the 3rd base.
Yeah.
I feel it's kind of impossible with how Squirtle set everything up.
It's too late of an attack, but this is just... I think what we're going to see here, as you said before, is just kind of this pressure. He has to move out and be aggressive to make sure that Squirtle doesn't get away with anything for free, but he's just going to keep the pressure on until he has his Broodlords ready. He's probably going to start a Spire soon.
He starts his drop upgrade again.
Yeah,
he cancelled it earlier, but now he's going into the same upgrade pattern once more. And until he has those, he cannot really do anything, and this is too much time.
Yeah,
by the time that
Squirtle is going to be maxed.
Not only maxed, Squirtle will have all those Colossi and the range upgrade and +3.
And consider the Roaches, for example, do not have any attack upgrades whatsoever. The Zerglings and, of course, later on the Broodlings and even the Banelings that are going to come out here will have +2 melee, but no upgrades for attack for the Roaches, so they're not going to be very useful here right now. There's only 15.
Squirtle will try to hit pre-Broodlord here.
Yeah.
And what Shine has to do, I mean, Shine has a sick bank, so his economy is really good. He had the 4 bases early. He's most likely going, oopala, he gets, what? Ultralist Kevin? Interesting choice.
Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to work, but the Banelings here could do a lot of damage to the mineral line because I don't feel there's anything that Squirtle could do to know about this.
Ultralists instead of Broodlords
against a massive Blink Stalker army with heavy Immortals.
Exactly, with Immortals and Colossi. I mean, usually I would say this is like getting a Kia and at high speed trying to crush down a wall.
Yeah.
You guys have smarts in America, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing. Trying to go for Cannonball smart against like a steel wall. I don't see that working.
Well, this is already starting to become a problem here. The Ultralist production started as some of the units begin to fall here, but he does not use any of his infestors. He's waiting for the right moment. A massive drop comes in. He's going to trash this 3rd bay with those Banelings.
The drop is going to be really good if he drops, and there it is. The drop is going to be good, but 5 Ultralists, what are 5 Ultralists going to do against 31 Stalkers with +3?
They're going to blow up really fast once the targeting starts happening. Good hits here with the Banelings, though, and this puts the probe count down to 44, so this means Squirtle needs to end the game here, but I feel he may have an easy job of it.
Congratulations, Shine, you just killed 10 Harvesters, but what are you going to do to save your base?
Yeah. He's got another Ling run by coming through, but all it's going to take is Squirtle to do a few Zealot Warpments at home. And watch how fast these Ultralists die to the Immortals here. This is insanely terrible for him. He's fighting 1 Zealot with an Ultralist.
They have no upgrades. They have nothing. Ultralists are a horrible choice against Protoss.
They don't even have +3 armor. They only have +2 armor. They don't have Ultralist Carapace either. They don't have the Chitinous plating.
Now he's getting 8, and if Squirtle would be able to see the production level of Shine, he would probably just say like, well, you can throw your money away. I'm completely happy with that.
The thing is, even if he doesn't make Ultras, there's not much else he can make. Roaches with no upgrades or Zerglings against this army. Squirtle has just already checkmated him, basically.
There are exceptions where Ultralists can work. There are very rare exceptions, but you need the surface area, you need fungals.
Usually when you're ahead.
Blink Stalkers.
He neurals 1 Colossus. But that's just not going to be enough because second Colossus gets knurled.
Well, he needs to take down those 2 infestors.
Yeah, he's finally blinks in there, but that was a close call.
Yeah, that was a little bit
And
late.
now the 8 Ultras, this is the type of situation where you're ahead, But he can't fight in this choke point. You know, I feel he almost should have gone for it there, though.
I actually think that those two neurals, they really did so much damage to the Stalkers that the amount of Stalkers, he could have taken it out. Imagine if one of those Infestors would have survived and he would have fungled.
Yeah. Now the Ultras are not useful anymore, though, and he actually just walks on top of them. With Blink, you can just blink around the Ultras for days. Now he's just going to camp the hatcheries, make sure any other Ultras come out, can't reunite with their Ultra brothers.
Harvester count is 38 or 49 now, 3 bases against, well, basically 2 at this point.
There's a mineral bank for the Zerg, but not a gas bank, so he can try to use his Larva the best he can here, but everything that comes out just dies to this Protoss Death Ball.
Yeah. The 2 neurals were great and they did a lot of damage to the Stalkers, and with the reduced Stalker numbers there was a chance to do damage. With a fungal he could have taken down a lot of these Stalkers and maybe overrun his opponent, but those Ultralists, 8 of them, they didn't stand a chance against blinking Stalkers. And well, this looks pretty much like we have a
well, the spines that are going down here are just, it's something like floating your Terran buildings when you're losing a game. He can try to hold on here, but he's not Squirtle versus Curious on Belshire Beach, if you guys remember that game.
Yeah. You know, this is...
was that Curious, actually?
No, are you talking about...
The game where he stayed on one base, and then he never switched out of Ultras instead of going into Broodlords, and then eventually he just turtled on one base with the
I know exactly
Immortals?
With the Void Rays in the end?
Yeah.
I actually don't even know who played that game, you're right.
It was, I know it was Squirtle, but I don't remember which Zerg it was.
That was ages ago, yeah. No, I feel this is like when you try to do your spring cleaning and you know that you will defeat the dust eventually, but it's going to take some time, especially if you didn't clean like before.
This
but
is
that's
the part
exactly
where,
what we see right now.
You go in to clean up that messy... I was doing this last night, I was cleaning my house. You go into that one dusty corner and there's a bunch of spiders in there and you start getting freaked out. Then you got to deal with the spiders before you can finally clean up that dusty corner. This is me cleaning the outside of my house. There's no spiders in my house. That would be terrifying.
I'm just personally in the opinion that Ultralists are a horrible choice in this matchup. The drop was so good. You know, with a different unit composition, I feel that Shine could have done a lot more in this game.
Yeah, just more Infestors, for example.
More Infestors, Spinecrawlers at home, trying
just
to...
a few Corruptors.
Exactly, Corruptors against the Colossi. A more traditional style would have worked so well against this, because his drop was good. He took down a lot of those Harvesters, and he really pressured his opponent.
Yeah, these Banelings are not going to be very useful because he can simply blink his Stalkers back. The Colossi will mop up everything. And then if he fights off creep, the Ultras are never going to be able to connect with anything. He doesn't have any Fungals to help us out.
Yeah.
I mean, with Fungals against the Banelings, that would be a different story, but he doesn't have a single Infestor.
And here we go, he can blink back. And
he doesn't even have to.
Yeah. This
totally owned.
This doesn't work.
And that is going to be it. GG.
GG, and game over, 1-0 for Squirtle. The Ultralist choice for Shine is not able to win him the game here.
Yeah, it was too early to be trying to go Ultralist when he didn't have the upgrades for them. And he made so many of them. He made, I feel, 11 at first. You know, he made those first 3, and then he made 8 more instead of making Infestors with his gas. Or, you know, when you're in that situation where you're both kind of trading, you hurt his economy, he's hurting your buildings. If you can get the Infestors out, it's good to have those energy units.
Yeah, the only thing that you can do with the Ultralist, you will have the Ultralist in general, you will have them faster than your brutal attack. That's the one thing that is definitely true. The problem really for him was he didn't have the armor upgrade for the Ultralist, so with the timing that Squirtle was using, they just didn't work. You don't have the extra armor, you are not on +3/+3.
And composition-wise, he had so many Blink Stalkers with like 5 Immortals with +3 with Colossi support.
I loved, I said it during the game, but I really liked his Neurals, because this is something that we haven't seen in quite a while, because most Protoss players deal with this quite well. But the Neurals took 2 Colossi, and he killed a lot of the Stalkers, or at least damaged them. So when those 8 Ultralists came out, there was not a lot of room to maneuver.
Yeah, that was a scary moment.
Exactly. He was backed into a little bit of a corner. You could have tried to blink onto the high ground. That gives him a bit of an edge, but if there is one fungal
the Ultras are going to kill him.
Exactly. Then the Ultralist really works. So these are these scenarios where you can make Ultralist work, but in general, I feel Just in general, Ultra is a horrible choice in this matchup.
Yeah.
Against Terran, it can work really well, but
on a map like this too, where he doesn't have the creep connected, his bases are a bit far apart from each other. There's a lot of choke points where the Pross can have the concave on the edge.
Ultra is great in Heart of the Swarm, and Wings of Liberty, I feel they only work when you have Infestors there for the
Or if you're really ahead with some Infestors where you can afford to get the Ultras out and the Pross army is just not big enough to fight against those fungals.
If you can get a flank, if you get like a sandwich position, if you have a map. I mean, we've seen on Entombed Valley, for example, this composition being played mostly against Terran, but also sometimes against Protoss, and if you get a good engagement in the middle, that's fine.
Sometimes, occasionally, you take out all of your opponent's Immortals somehow, and that you kill them with Lings, and you're like, all right, well, now he doesn't have Immortals, so I can switch into Ultras here. But that was just, I feel that wrong choice.
With everything he set up, I feel with the traditional choice, he would have been in a much better position. He had a huge bank. If he starts the Hive with a Spire, then he has the Corruptors in the game. He has a massive amount of Spinecrawlers if he uses his bank, and then he can, I feel, hold off Squirtle's attack to go into Broodlords.
Yeah, I mean, he took a big investment going into those Banelings that bought Squirtle. Well, they gave Squirtle the timing he needed because he had just had a much better army. Even if he had tried to go into Broodlord, Squirtle might have still killed him. But like you said, I feel he would have had a much better chance. Well, let's go into Cloud Kingdom now. Game number 2. Can Squirtle take the 2-0 that most people predict, or is Shine going to surprise us here?
He already surprises a little bit with his tech choice. Maybe in this game he can make it work. We're going to find out. We are heading right into game number 2 here at the GSL Code A with Colin Wolf.